We were only out there for a half hour, so I guess it was a false alarm.
Gotcha.
All right, let me see here. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes. Yeah. It's not in power. Yeah, there you go.
Yep. All right. Again, I apologize for being late today, but better late than never. So we're going to talk about the December 2024 Kentucky Monthly Climate Perspective on Drought and Hydrologic Conditions. My name's Chip Zimmer. I'm with the Kentucky Division of Water. Um, and this is a webinar that's hosted by the State Climatologist Office for Kentucky, a division of the Kentucky Climate Center at Western Kentucky University. Um, Start out like we normally do, talking about this is a webinar series, like I said, presented by Kentucky Climate Center at Western Kentucky University in partnership with the National Integrated Drought Information System, and in coordination with the Midwest Drought Early Warning System. The production and delivery of this webinar reflects the contributions of many partners committed to serving the needs of the Commonwealth of Kentucky and its people. I'm with the Division of Water. We have Jerry here with the Kentucky Climate Center. We also have Matt with the UK Ag Weather Center. Our next meeting, we're going to go back to having it on the first Thursday. We didn't have it this first Thursday because it was the day after New Year's, and I don't think anybody would have been on. But the meeting will be the next webinar will be February 6th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this webinar is being recorded, and you will be able to review this webinar on the Kentucky Climate Center's YouTube channel. And the scene there is from this morning from the Mesonet Station in Johnson County, beautiful snowy forests. Um, Outline, we'll talk about recent conditions, impacts. We're also going to do a quick review of 2024, then look at the upcoming weather, and then finish up with a summary and a quick discussion. And two pictures there. One is from Pike County. You see the snow-covered, ice-covered trees there, and the other one's from Warren County. There at Western Kentucky's farm, and you can see there's really no snow on the ground. So it's kind of a tale of two areas. Some places got a snow and quite a lot of snow in some places. Other places just got some ice, and even just a little rain, or not a little rain, a lot of rain from this system that came through Friday and Saturday. Um, So starting off, this is the last 7 days precipitation. You can see everybody picking up in the state at least an inch of rain over the past week. You can see a streak there running across the middle of the state that picked up 1.5 inches, 2 inches of rain. A lot of this was from the Friday, Saturday storm. So a lot of this fell in some sort of frozen precipitation, snow, sleet, freezing rain. And down south of Lake Cumberland there, like McCreary County, Clinton County, they actually got up into the mid 40s on Friday evening and got quite a bit of just plain old rain. But it was quite the mess. I know in Georgetown I got about 6.5 inches of snow, and then a bunch of sleet and freezing rain on top of that, and then another inch or two of snow on top of that. So it's been quite fun trying to dig out of that. Um, Looking at the 14-day precipitation again, it's a pretty healthy amounts over the past 2 weeks. See, out in the Purchase area, almost 5 inches of rain or precipitation out there. As you come eastward, central Kentucky, more like 2.5, 3 inches rain, and up in northeastern Kentucky is kind of the dry area. They only got about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of precipitation in a 2 week period. So everybody getting some good precipitation. About the 30 days, the past 30 days have been quite wet. Again, the purchase area, you see numbers 7, 8, 9 inches of precipitation. And then a lot of the state, you can see west central, eastern Kentucky, 5.5, 6 inches of precipitation. Again, kind of central, northern Kentucky, northeastern Kentucky, 4, 5 inches of precipitation, which is still normal amounts of precipitation. So Ella State doing at least normal to above normal for precipitation for the past 30 days. Got to 60 days, again, lots of yellows and oranges, 10, 11, 12 inches of precipitation. Again, central Kentucky, northeast Kentucky, kind of the drier areas, but still 8, 9 inches of precipitation over the past 60 days. If you go out to 90 days, some of these numbers don't change a lot. And that's just because we're getting into October. And if you remember, it didn't rain in October until you got to Halloween. So that dryness shows up in this map. So but still, even if you go out to the western half of the state, you're still seeing 14, 15, even 18 inches in Callaway County over 90 days. And that's a pretty good numbers for a 90-day period. So looking at this is persimmon normal here. So you said the 30-day period, you can see places, those blue areas are 150 to 200% of normal precipitation. Anything green is above 100% of precipitation. And we see a few places that are just slightly below normal. Those yellows there across central and northeastern Kentucky are 90 to 100% of normal. So just slightly below normal, but nothing out of the ordinary. 60 days, same thing. Western half of the state, very wet. Really the only place that was below normal is down there south of Lake Cumberland, there along the Tennessee border. And then you expand out the 90 days and you can see where that dry October kicks in. You can see the eastern 2/3 of the state were still showing up below normal with that, having 1 out of the 3 months, were with pretty much no precipitation. But with all the rain that Western Kentucky has gotten over the past 2 months, you can see they're showing up above normal now. And for month of December, the state averaged 5.17 inches of precipitation, which is 0.89 inches above normal and puts it at the 34th wettest month December on record. So there's 130 years of record, so upper quarter or so of the winter months. And since our dry October, so November, December, the state's average 11.76 inches of precipitation, which is almost 2.5 inches above normal. So doing a good job of making up for that dryness. And if you go back before October, we had a pretty significant drought most of the summer, and at least in central and eastern Kentucky, especially. So we've been doing a good job of digging ourselves out of those holes and replenishing some of our groundwater and streams and rivers. Looking at temperatures, it was a pretty warm December. We averaged 40.4 degrees Fahrenheit for the month, which is 3.2 degrees above normal, which puts us at the 26th warmest December on record. And if you look at the graphs, you can see both on the right side, both daily highs and daily lows, the average, both were above normal. So across the board, during the day and at night, we were warmer than normal. Looking at stream flows, the current stream flows, greens are your normal stream flows, and your light blues and dark blues are above normal. And you can see there's everything is either green or blue. So we're running at or well above normal, especially in eastern Kentucky. See a lot of those deeper blues. If you go out to the 28-day average stream flows, again, lots of greens, some blues, and then one orange dot down there in Wayne County. I believe that's Beaver Creek down there. So, and that's an area that's been drier. we'll talk about the drought a little bit more here in a bit, but they're just coming out of drought, so we are still seeing that in the 28-day average. But if you look up the current stream flows, that stream's running normal now, so they are improving. Soil moisture. The top graph is showing the percentiles, so it's looking at what soil moisture looks like now and comparing it to past years at this time. So it's saying that northern central Kentucky is a little drier than we normally are. Um, but if you go down to the bottom one, just looking at the percent of water, available water in the soil, and if you look, there's lots of green there. We're over 50% of relative moisture, and that's anything over 50 typically is more than what you need. And typically your soil column is 50% water, 50% air. So once you start getting over 50%, you're probably a little above field capacity. So basically, what these maps are saying is, yeah, we're in January. We get a lot of saturated soils. We don't have, there's no really no ET to speak of this time of year. So typically during the winter, we get really, you get muddy, saturated soils. So what the percentiles are saying is, yeah, it may not be completely oversaturated, but we're still in good shape. So it's one of the things you kind of got to look at all the information, because if you're looking at just one, you might be like, oh, we're a little dry, but in reality, while we're a little drier than maybe historically, the columns still completely full and saturated. So soil moisture, we are looking in good shape. And looking at the mesonet soil moisture probes, you can see all four that we have here looking good. You can see those spikes up are when we have precipitation events and the soil column gets oversaturated, and then that water drains out and it goes back down to field capacity. And you can see every place is hanging out at or above field capacity right now. So we are in good shape and what we'd expect for this time of year. Looking at the U.S. Drought Monitor, you can see that we are drought free. And really, if you look at it, a couple months ago, you would have seen lots of colors over West Virginia and Ohio and creeping into Kentucky. And also the drought in Tennessee was much more expansive. So been lots of improvement. Still a lot of drought across the country, up in the Northeast and also out in the high plains and in the desert Southwest. But like I said, close to looking Kentucky, we are now free of any drought or abnormally dry conditions, and that's the first. As of last week, we still had some abnormally dry conditions down in South Central Kentucky. So those are finally gone, thanks to all the rain that we have gotten. And here's the change week for the past 4 weeks. The greens are showing that there's been improvement. So you can see really most of the eastern U.S., you can see there's been lots of improvement, 1 or 2 category improvements. And really, if you go out to the desert Southwest, where much of the degradation's been, the biggest being down in Southern California, where the fires are currently. And you can see a closer look at Kentucky. You can see there was 2-class improvement down there, McCreary, Wayne County area there. And a month ago, we were still in drought in that area. So there's been improvement there, and also the improvement in the northeastern Kentucky there, Pike, Martin County area. They were still a month ago in abnormally dry conditions. So been improvement, and hopefully the rain keeps up and we have a wet year this year and consistently wet this year. Because we'll talk about here just a second. It was a fairly wet year this year, it just wasn't consistent. So 2024 review. We finished with an average temperature of 58.8 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 2.9 degrees above normal. And this is still a preliminary number, but if it's correct, then this would make it the 2024 the warmest year on record for the state. Again, that's out of 130 years. So could be potentially a historic year in terms of temperature. Um, as for precipitation, the state averaged 53.16 inches of precipitation, which is almost 5 inches above normal, making it 25th wettest year on record. And that's despite having, excuse me, despite having an October that was would have been the driest, possibly the driest month on record for a lot of locations, except it rained on Halloween. It wasn't a substantial rain, if you remember, but it did rain, and that kind of knocked out a lot of places from reaching that point. Though the city of Jackson, where the National Weather Service is located, still did have their driest October on record. So what it really boils down to is, we had places that were wetter than other areas, but what it boiled down to is it's something that's been kind of occurring the past few years. Is when it rains, we get a lot of rain, but then we get stretches where it doesn't rain and that's when we start getting these droughts and dryness popping up, and these flash droughts. So it's kind of been interesting, especially I wasn't middle of summer. I didn't think we'd have it. I thought we'd be below normal for the year, but with a few wet months, we ended up quite a bit above normal for the year. So kind of surprising, but then again, not. But looking at the west, kind of breaking up the state, the Western Climatic Division was the wettest, almost 59 inches of precipitation, which is 10 inches above normal. The driest was the Eastern Climatic Division, but still almost 2 inches above normal. And the Bluegrass Climatic Division was right there with them, almost exactly the same. So they were about 2 inches above normal as well. And the East and Central Kentucky were the hardest hit by the drought and still finished above normal for the year. So looking at mesonet gauges, Muhlenberg County recorded the highest temperature of any mesonet gauge this year, with a temperature of 101.9 degrees. And Cumberland County had the coldest temperature on record with for the year, negative 14 degrees. And Grayson County was the wettest with 64.37 inches of precipitation. In Harrison County, which was one of the areas that had driest for the drought-wise, was one of the worst places this year. Shut up only 40.29 inches of precipitation this year. So there were some drier spots. Looking at some significant weather in 2024, we had a severe weather outbreak on May 8th. That day, National Weather Service in Paducah issued 117 different warnings, both tornado and thunderstorms. And that was the most they'd ever issued in a single day, and it wasn't even close. I forget what the old record was, but then on May 26th, we had another outbreak, and that included some EF3 tornadoes, including one that started in Eddiesville and went to about I-69, and it followed the path of the December 10th tornado that hit Mayfield and Princeton. It followed that almost to a dime. I mean, they were parallel, just a couple miles apart from each other. It was quite eerie watching it. Luckily, it did not do near the damage that tornado did. And of interesting note, on that day, Paducah issued the second most warnings that they had ever issued, just behind the one that was 3 weeks earlier. So they had quite a busy May out there. On September 17th, the U.S. Drought Monitor introduced D3 extreme drought to Kentucky, and that was in northeastern Kentucky. And the next week, there was D3 in central Kentucky. And then on September 27th and 28th, the remnants of Hurricane Helene came up, devastated western Tennessee and western North Carolina. Excuse me. But ended up bringing us some really much needed precipitation and pretty much wiped the drought out. And then it didn't rain for a month. Then we kind of started slipping back in the drought. But we did get some rain on Halloween, like I said, and it prevented us having the driest October or even the driest month on record in some places. But Jackson still recorded their driest October on record with 0.21 inches of precipitation. Looking at December storm reports, the purple is snow amount. So we did have some snow, most of it melted pretty quickly, unlike this current snow. But you see some places in central and eastern Kentucky, 1, 2 inches of snow. Quite a lot of reports of wind. Did have a couple systems come through in December where it was quite windy. Uh, Nothing like we saw a couple years ago, but still, 40, 50 mile per hour winds, and a little bit of flooding and some higher rain totals out there in the Purchase in Western Kentucky. So just want to talk about the storm we just had real quick. Like I said, we had freezing rain, sleet, snow. We even had some rain in just plain old rain in southern Kentucky. And also had some thunder and lightning along with some of the different things. So we had thunder, freezing rain, thunder, sleet, thunder, snow. Um, and you can see here snow totals up in northern Kentucky, almost 10, 11 inches of snow. And again, along the I-64 corridor, still 6 to 8 inches of snow. And then totals dropped off pretty quickly. And this is where the significant icing occurred. And you can see on here um, places just around Lexington, just south of Lexington and 64, half inch to 3/4 inch ice. And then again out in Western Kentucky, out in Union, Crittenden County, that area also had 3/4 inch of ice. And at the peak on Monday morning, there were 100,000 people without power, and luckily most of those have been restored. I think there's still a few places though they're still working and getting power back. And this snow is going to be on the ground for a while. We're going to get some more snow tomorrow. Possibly 3 to 6 inches of snow. I believe there's a winter storm warning out for much of the state right now. So, but it doesn't look like we're going to be warming up anytime in the near future. Going out to looking at the outlooks, the ENSO outlook, we actually are now officially in La Nina, just barely. It's a very weak La Nina, and it's expected to continue through the next couple months. Then it probably is going to wane, and it looks like right now, and so neutral is the favorite to continue through the summer time. So that's going on right now. Like I said, it's a very weak La Nina, so I'm not sure how much it's going to impact our weather. But it took its time. Normally they were expecting it to show up in the fall, and it just didn't quite happen, and just kind of not happening, and it finally just, I think it was just this past week or two, it finally reached a point where they said that it was officially a La Nina. Looking at our 7-day precipitation forecast, not a ton, but you don't need a ton of moisture for when we're talking snow. So looking like 1/4 to a half inch of precipitation across much of the state over the next week. You see heftier amounts down to our south. Looking at the 6 to 10 day outlooks, you see there is a very strong likelihood that the eastern seaboard into Kentucky is going to be below normal over the next 6 to 10 days, and near normal precipitation. And then going out to the 8 to 14 day outlooks, actually showing, actually that's from September. Never mind. I apparently copied it. I didn't copy it correctly. So disregard those. I can tell you because I was looking at them. We are going to be below normal, not as strong of a signal, but below normal for the 8 to 14 day outlook, and also above normal precipitation for the 8 to 14 day outlook. So below normal temperatures and above normal precipitation, you know what that means in January. So looks like they're expecting some more snow coming later on this month. So the monthly outlook, and this is the correct ones again. The it's a fairly strong signal for below normal temperatures, not surprising considering, how cold we've been so far. And equal chances for precipitation with below normal out in the mountain, down in the desert Southwest in Texas, and then above normal in the Northwest and also the Northeast United States. And our seasonal outlooks for January through March. They're still kind of riding that La Nina train with the drier conditions in the south and the higher precipitation in the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley and also in the Pacific Northwest, and are predicting above normal temperatures, slightly leaning, I guess it'd be the slight probability of above normal temperatures for January through March. So we'll see if that happens. Looking at the monthly drought outlook, they're not showing any signs of drought development during the month. Not surprising, but you do see continued development out in the western U.S. Fire potential, none for the Ohio Valley. You can see some along the Atlantic coast in the southeast, Texas, and of course the LA area. Obviously, they're already seeing that right now. I still have this in here. This is for Matt, his weather alert app. So if you haven't already downloaded it, they also have it on Android, but there's the thing for iOS. And just a quick summary, December was warm with above normal precipitation. And this above normal precipitation has led to the removal of all drought and normally dry designations in the state. The weak La Nina has finally developed. The Climate Prediction Center is forecasting for below normal temperatures to continue for at least the next 2 weeks. And again, another one that wasn't taken out yet. I was going through and finishing up final touches when the fire alarm went off, so I apologize. But there is no fire potential for January. And so, like I said, the next webinar is on February 6th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Central Time. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself, Matt Dixon, or Jerry Brodsky. And I thank you for staying with us, even though I was late. And if you have any questions, the floor is yours.
Chip, your year review brought back a lot of memories, and I can't help but think how dry we would be if we didn't have Helene come through.
Yeah. Yeah, that I was very thankful for Helene. At least the rain that she brought us. I mean, it was kind of bittersweet kind of thing because it was horrible to see what happened down to our south, but it saved us because after we were already in D3, and then if that hadn't happened, we wouldn't have had rain for an entire month. So it would have been pretty rough.
Yeah, we didn't realize how lucky we were until, till after the fact, after October. But
Yeah,
and your severe weather numbers are interesting because when you look at the Louisville and Jackson office numbers, they were closer. It was a pretty average year for them. But then you go to Paducah and it's
yeah,
wow.
they were hogging all the fun.
Any other questions, comments? Chip, right while you were outside in the cold, we were looking at the weather, the Mesonet obs from today, and their temperatures reflect pretty closely to the snow depth out there. I mean, we really don't have any on the ground here. It's a little ice, but on rooftops, but nothing like you guys there in central Kentucky. And boy, your temperatures reflect that too.
Yeah, it was a little chilly out there. I was glad that the sun was out because that helped a lot.
Yeah, you're about 10 degrees colder than we are right now.
Well, you guys should have some snow on the ground tomorrow.
Yep, yep, I think so. I think so. Any other questions, comments? All right. Well, I don't mean to keep
Oh,
people any longer, but
yeah,
yeah, thanks.
uh, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Chip. Yeah, thank you, everyone.
All right, well, I appreciate it, and see everybody back next month. Hopefully, whoever's giving the presentation will have a fire alarm.
Yep. And it'll be warmer, hopefully.
Yes, that's
Yep. Thank you all.
All right,
Yep. Bye.
bye.